The thyroid gland acts as the metabolic control center of your body. This small, butterfly-shaped gland sits at the front of your neck, but despite its small size, it has a powerful influence on almost every cell in your body. The thyroid produces two important hormones, triiodothyronine, commonly known as T3, and thyroxine, or also known as T4. While the thyroid releases both hormones, the majority of what it produces is T4. Think of T4 as a storage form or a prohormone. Before T4 or thyroxine can have its full effect, it must be first converted in the tissues throughout the body into the more active hormone T3. These hormones help regulate how quickly or slowly your body's cells work, and they influence your metabolism, heart rate, body temperature, and even your energy levels. An easy way to remember that the role of the thyroid is to think of it as the body's thermostat, an energy regulator. Just as a thermostat controls the temperature in a house, the thyroid helps control the speed at which your body operates, ensuring that your organs and cells function at the right pace. Now let's take a closer look at the main hormone produced by the thyroid, T4, or also known as thyroxine. T4 acts mainly as a storage form of the thyroid hormone or a prohormone, and it's relatively inactive. So how is T4 made? The production and release of T4 is controlled through a feedback system involving the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the thyroid gland. This is known as the HPT axis. When the body requires more thyroid hormone, the hypothalamus releases thyrotropin-releasing hormone, or TRH. This stimulates the pituitary gland to release thyroid-stimulating hormone, commonly known as TSH. TSH then signals the thyroid gland to produce and release T4, along with smaller amounts of T3. Once released into the bloodstream, much of T4 is converted into T3 in the tissues throughout the body through a process called deiodination. This conversion is important because T3 is the active form of thyroid hormone. T3 or triiodothyronine is produced both by thyroid gland and by the conversion of T4 in peripheral tissues such as the liver, kidneys, and muscles. T3 enters the cells and regulates many essential body functions. The key point to remember is that T4 is the major hormone released by the thyroid gland and serves as a storage form, while T3 is the active hormone that carries out most of the thyroid hormone's effects throughout the body. So what does T3 do? T3 is the active thyroid hormone that enters the cells and does most of the work. It helps maintain normal metabolism, supports energy production, regulates heart rate, contributes to digestive function, and plays important roles in the brain development, muscle control, and also bone growth. Because T3 is the most active thyroid hormone, changes in its levels can have significant effects on the body. Insufficient levels of T3 can contribute to hypothyroidism, where metabolic processes slow down and symptoms such as fatigue, brain fog, weight gain, constipation, and cold intolerance can occur. In contrast, excessive levels of T3 can lead to hyperthyroidism, which can manifest through symptoms such as weight loss, tachycardia, anxiety, irritability, heat intolerance, tremors, and frequent bowel movements. The thyroid is regulated by a feedback loop regulated by the hypothalamic-pituitary-thyroid axis, also known as the HPT axis. Think of the HPT axis as a conversation between these three organs, the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and the thyroid. An easy way to remember the HPT axis is to think of it as a thermostat. So when the temperature drops, the thermostat turns the heating on, and when the room becomes warm enough, the thermostat turns the heating off. In the same way, the HPT axis constantly adjusts the thyroid hormones to ensure that the body is in balance. Think of the hypothalamus as the body's sensor. The hypothalamus is constantly monitoring the thyroid hormone levels in the bloodstream. When the thyroid hormone levels become too low, the hypothalamus sends a signal by releasing thyrotropin-releasing hormone. The TRH travels to the pituitary gland and tells it to release thyroid-stimulating hormone, or TSH. TSH then travels through the bloodstream to the thyroid gland, and the thyroid gland responds by producing and releasing more thyroid hormones, mainly T4 and smaller amounts of T3. As T3 and T4 levels rise, they send a message back to both the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. This message tells them that enough thyroid hormone has been produced. As a result, the release of TRH and TSH slows down, and this process is called the negative feedback loop. Just to quickly summarize what we've gone through, the HPT axis constantly adjusts the thyroid hormone production to keep the body in balance. The key point to remember is that the low thyroid hormone levels increase thyrotropin releasing hormone and thyroid stimulating hormone production, while high thyroid hormone levels decrease the thyrotropin releasing hormone and decrease the thyroid stimulating hormone through the negative feedback loop. Let's go through a quick summary of the thyroid system and the key concepts that we've learned so far. We've learned that the thyroid gland is a butterfly-shaped gland located in the neck, and it helps to regulate metabolism, energy levels, heart rate, growth, and development. We've also learned that the thyroid gland produces two hormones, T4, known as thyroxine, and T3, known as triiodothyronine. T4 is the main hormone released by the thyroid gland, while T3 is the active hormone that enters cells and carries out most of the thyroid hormone functions. We've also learned about the HPT axis. The production of these hormones is controlled by the hypothalamic-pituitary-thyroid axis, also known as the HPT axis. Through a negative feedback loop mechanism, the HPT axis helps keep thyroid hormone levels balanced. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you found this useful.